Hi everyone, and welcome to The Rest is Lee. And today we bring you to Leafield Marine, home of MD Ian Mountain. In the heart of the Wiltshire countryside, Leafield is a world leader in the design, manufacture and testing of inflation systems for inflatable craft, so life rafts to most of us, ranging from sort of 3-man to 500 person.
Hi Ian, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, and listen, thanks very much for letting us have the amount of time we've had today at Leafield Marine. The time that we've spent, both myself and John, who's not with us for this particular part of the episode, but the time that we've spent on the factory floor, learning about the products, the processes, and more importantly, the people at Leafield Marine has been absolutely fantastic. So thanks for that, Ian. Tell us a bit more about Leafield Marine. Tell us about the business itself. Tell us about the products that you make.
We're a unique company in the world, not just in UK. We supply the inflation systems for life rafts. So commercial life rafts, so anything in the Blue Fleet world that goes all the way around the world. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple of big customers that dominate that market, and we supply the product to them so that when whoever it is pulls the rope, and the case bursts open and the life raft inflates in 30 seconds, which it needs to do, then if it does that, then it'll be a Leafield valve that's actually made that happen. So
it's a pretty important bit of kit that you're making then.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we do sort of 35 to 40,000 inflation systems a year. So it's a big business. It's a big volume business for us. And it's one of those businesses where it can't afford to fail. It's I think I was going around a factory a couple of weeks ago, and the reject rate from customer was about 5%, and that was fine. And I was reminiscing to myself. I was like, nothing is acceptable to my customers.
So
I know we all talk about
life rafts that we have, 5 may not inflate.
They may not inflate. Well, that just doesn't. That's not a thing in life raft inflation industry, but it's a reflection of the design and the discipline and the supply chains that go together to making that. And I've been the operations manager, managing director now, but for 15 years. So it's an investment of time, effort, and dependability over that period that's got us to pretty much where we are now, and where we are now is a platform for us growing further.
Fantastic. And you've got some of the products with us today. Do you want to briefly explain some of these?
I've got our oldest and our newest. So
okay.
This little beast is the newest part of the inflation stable, patented. So it's got a worldwide patent, so that it combines the distribution system. Mm-hmm. With the outlets, with the operating head. So previously, that's an original operating head, and that would sit on a distribution system. So, you can see by sort of that by combining them within the same space, we're reducing the
weight and the volume.
The volume, and when you're packing life rafts, it's all going into a box, a valise, and that valise has only got a limited size. So if you can get it.
So weight and space.
Yeah,
really important.
And it's literally, we got the first order for the first commercial ones last week.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's been a long time in the development, but it'll be on leisure life rafts from sort of April, May time this year. So so 2/3 of the business is in life rafts, and so the final third is in ribs and inflatable structures.
Okay.
So we do a whole range going back to 60 years ago when we set off. We were making copied valves of what was the Jacques Cousteau's Zodiac inflatable boat, where we wanted a British version. So Avon, which is where we are in this part of the world, Avon Rubber decided to make the UK version of it, and our forebears were asked, could we design a valve? And we've gone from there to there, and we're now the premier sort of work boat. If an inflatable boat is your workaday vehicle, you need the dependability on it. We take the dependability that we get from the life raft industry and the design strengths and put it into the ribs. So if you've got a working rib, you're likely to have Leafield valves on it. So we're pretty much dominated that, and this is a new addition to the stable. So this connects a rib as a series of chambers, and if you wanted to have an ease of inflate, you need to link all the chambers, and this sort of sits snugly on the inside, so inobtrusively. So and with a flick of a sort of a 90-degree turn, which locks off. It opens this chamber to that chamber, and that chamber opens, so it creates. So a series of these makes one big chamber.
Is there some sort of regulatory ideal target time that has to be inflated by?
So life rafts are highly regulated, as you'd wish that they were. SOLAS, safety of life at sea. There's a minimum time of 30 seconds for an inflatable life raft to go from nothing to something. So getting volume air from a gas bottle, liquid CO2 into the fabric, and then the fabric expanding. So
fantastic.
Exciting stuff. I think we talked about the biggest inflatable life raft that is currently in operation, approved to SOLAS, can take 520 persons.
Wow.
It's a monster. And we do the inflation system for that. There are 12 8-foot cylinders of CO2. There are hundreds of meters of hoses connecting. There are 52 individual chambers within it, and it inflates into a 520-man boat with engines.
And where would you find one of those, for example?
Those are going to go onto cruise liners. Oh. So, and they come as a pair. So for every escape station on a cruise liner, you've got over 1,040 people capacity. So, 4 or 5 of those around a ship, and you've got the capability of getting a lot of people off on a platform pretty quickly, and then that platform's got its own power, so it can move and maneuver itself and take itself to somewhere safe.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you've got to this point.
So I've just been in manufacturing all my life. I mean, I chose it as a career path straight from university, and didn't look back since. So I set off at the shipyard in Barrow-in-Furness, making nuclear submarines field guns and all that sort of stuff. And then I went to Western Helicopters and made helicopters for a bit, and David Brown making tractors. So I spent 5 years up in Huddersfield on the tractor line, and that got me my first management role, which was down in Bath for a rail traction gearbox, part of the David Brown group at the time. So I spent my first 2 years as a production manager, sort of learning things on my own in this new factory with a whole experienced workforce on 3 shifts as a raw 29-year-old. I did 2 years down there, so I was about 31. So I was quite an old industry forum intake. I think I was probably one of the older ones. Mm-hmm. But seeing the opportunity to train with Japanese engineers was it sort of, I knew it was the bit that I was missing, even if I, as a 31-year-old, thought I knew it all. Mm-hmm. Actually, I thought, well, it'd be better if I actually got some instruction on this, and the 12 years I spent at Industry Forum was just fantastic. The factory in Bath was closing at the time, so I'd got a ready-made opportunity to move forward.
So just for the benefit of people listening, yes, so Graham was at the time was CEO for Industry Forum and had been since the inception, I believe.
Yeah.
And what a character he was. Do you mind just sharing very briefly the interview process? Do you remember it? Because I know it was quite intensive.
Well, I was quite into lean, so I was already reading Suzuki and Toyota, so I suppose a bit of a geek when it come to
every book.
When I got the interview, I didn't find the interview process particularly strainy because my DNA is just that. I can't help myself but see opportunity and fix it or get involved and I had a great opportunity with David Brown to my first job was go and get this factory in Poole and bring it up to Penistone and make it work. So then it was the whole axle business from Hamworthy Hydraulics. So and I joined. Well, I was supposed to join on May the 1st, and I said, of course, I'll be in on the Tuesday, and they went, well, you'll be in on Monday, son. I said, but Monday's bank holiday, not in Yorkshire, it's not. So I was like, okay, I'll be in on Monday then. And literally, we've bought this company. It's got loads of products. Somebody needs to bring it up from Poole, and that's your job. Go and do it. Nobody said how to do it. Nobody said who are you going to do it with. But we got this factory in Penistone. It's not got enough space, but you'll make space and you'll bring it and all the machines and some of the people and all the stock and all the systems. There you go. That's your job.
So it was almost like a blank canvas.
It was a blank it was an empty notebook and a blank canvas.
So that gave you a lot of free range to. Was it to dabble with the books that you'd read around the topic? Was it an open field for you to really just try and experiment with what you'd read, or?
I naturally just felt when things are wrong, and I think when you do your waste walk. So the thing that really brought it home was we made axles, epicyclic sort of industrial, off-road axles. So they've got big epicyclic gearbox, Planet gears, Sun gear, hub gear, and all the rest of it. So for every Planet gear, you have a little needle roller bearing. For every needle, and there's maybe 80 needle roller bearings per gear, 3 gears per. So I did the kitting. We kitted because we'd moved it all the way up from Poole to here, and I was doing the kitting one, and it was like, are we really picking every needle roller bearing and counting them out prior to putting them in a little plastic bag and bringing them and presenting them to the assembly operator? And it was like, nobody said there was a better way, but my head went, there's got to be. We cannot be doing this. The guys will do whatever you tell them to do, but there's got to be a way. And just fixing little things like that. So that led to line side stocking led to consignment stocking. And just if the guys I know subsequently we learn about value adding and non-value adding, but if the guys aren't making axles, what are they doing? And that's even then I was like, well, we're not paying them to walk up and down the factory and count little bits of things. We're paying them to torque spanners up and test. So whatever they weren't doing, I thought, well, let's let them not have to do that. So nobody. I think in a lot of manufacturing companies, there's very few people that would get in your way of doing improvement because a lot. We're full of people that are doing the job. To be able to look at the job and go, well, that doesn't feel right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned one of the things that John Mussel and I have mentioned on various episodes of the podcast is looking through a different lens. Do you think that time at Industry Forum will have helped rather enhance that lens? It sounds to me like you had a natural different lens anyway. Did that just get better with the time you spent at Industry Forum, for example?
Just the volume of opportunity that you see, and some of the stories you get. So we going around. I mean, one of the stories is on the assembly line at Toyota. So Harry took us round. Harry and Mixan took us round Burniston, and we went. We're there on the door trimming line, and you sort of said, what's that vacuum cleaner doing here? and the guy's fitting the trim, but to fit the trim, you take the little paper off the back, and then you offer it up.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens to the paper when you've taken it off the trim? It's got to go somewhere. And what happened was your arm cut a light beam, which turned a vacuum cleaner on, which sucked the paper out of your hand. And I was just like, wow. Somebody has really thought. Yeah, because I said, well, there's no paper on the floor. Well, obviously there's no paper on the floor because somebody's thought about how you do that job.
When you mentioned earlier in the conversation around about books that you'd read,
Mm-hmm.
is there a particular book that you'd like to share with us, with our audience, in terms of what would be the go-to, either from a leadership perspective or from a lean perspective, you think that really resonated with you?
Yeah, I think from maybe not the leadership, but the lean side, because it's always been something I've been interested in, and I'd always got my own ideas, but the book that actually sort of crystallised my ideas in somebody else's words and pictures was New Manufacturing Challenge by Sasaki.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a book that I read. It's a book you can dip into, and I think when we were back at Industry Forum, the interview process that was one of those almost that was one of those questions. And it was like, I am interested in this. I mean, I am a proper geek.
I always had the goal.
The goal
refers to it. People talk about the machine, by Goldratt. The goal is the machine that changed the world. But one for mine. Have you tried Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson?
Yes, yeah.
Only because it was really easy to read. It had big letters, and it had the answers at the back.
And you did.
I was happy with that. So
not like a gymnastic where
you
had to
go away and think for yourself. Exactly. And that's for another episode, I can assure you. Another question that we ask quite a lot is, obviously you've been through a lot in your career so far, and there's still a long way to go. Is there one particular thing that you would say to your younger self, if you had the opportunity?
I think some of the experiences that I've had over relatively recent, since becoming managing director, there's been a broader demand on my skill set that I don't necessarily have developed. In a younger version, I'm very much easier to just do rather than to lead and do. And I think the leadership bit is the thing that's I've taken on board these last 2 or 3 years. Particularly not presuming so much, and trying to better phrase and explain situations more, rather than being I suppose it's been less directive and being more coaching.
And is that more things like you think about 360 feedback or doing reviews with your teams and things like that? Was it more reflection for yourself?
I anticipated that my team would be thinking at my level, even only because their age and seniority. I just felt that that there wasn't the need for the explanation, some of the detailed explaining that actually is the foundations of a joint. The joint understanding bit I underestimated a lot of, and just felt, just because I think it's a great idea, why aren't people doing it? Yeah. Whereas now I'm like, okay, there is more of a selling, rolling the pitch.
Exactly.
And it's the essential bit. Whereas previous I probably saw it as the window dressing, whereas now I look at it as, it's not going to happen if you haven't done it right. Yeah,
the sell's really, really important, because you've got and also I think in terms of selling it, do you think it's understanding in terms of how you sell it? Each member of your leadership team are individuals in their own right, so how you sell it might be slightly nuanced for one member of the team as
absolutely another. Yeah. There's
what flicks this switch?
You've got to find the switch.
It's not always easy.
It's not
always easy.
Not at all.
Just on a slightly lighter note, there's been a lot of ups and downs over your time, over your career so far. I'm quite keen to what would be one particular instance where you've probably felt your most happiest, where there's been maybe a success within your time at Leafield, something that you've seen over the past 15 years, I believe. Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Can you share with the audience what one or two of those things might be?
Yeah, the sense of achievement is always an inspiring, and we went up to your sort of stomping ground, up to northwest to see a customer, and for them to go, we are coming to you. We want you to do all of this. We want you to be, the supplier of all these parts. They've inherited some finished items that they've never done before, and they go, well, we don't care who's on it now. We want the security of you. But that's being a sort of image that I've been building on for years and years and years, right back to when I took over the delivery performance and the quality performance, and just said, we've got to get. This is the first thing we do. We get it right. Stabilize, get it right, and then we're there, and the good stuff will come if we do that. And yesterday was a great example of stuff that I've wanted for years. It came to me because of what we'd become.
And you'd said to me offline is you've also got a great sense that it's not just your good self.
No.
You mentioned before about the learning that you've gone through, moving through the ranks, developing as yourself as a leader, but also trying to impart some of your knowledge and expertise onto other people within the business. And I know one thing that you'd said to me earlier on that you were very proud of is watching some of your team, be it on the shop floor or wherever, watching them grow as people, watching them develop. No, it's being comfortable. For example, you've got a customer come on the shop floor, and you feel very comfortable that you can take them to the shop floor, and there's no window dressing.
You get what you get what we do. You've met the team out there. They enjoy where they are. They're proud of what they do, even though it's some of it's low level assembly, repetitive. It's lots of componentry.
But the product is incredibly important, isn't it?
The product's important, and people and for the team to buy into it, it's not just another little. It's not just a widget. It's something that actually makes a difference somewhere, and we try and hopefully get it across that those people that are doing that are as important to us as anybody in the organisation.
Absolutely. And the same way, obviously, when your clients do come, they actually see the real Leafield Marine.
And it resonates with them. The world's this unpredictable animal, and we present ourselves as something that, as much as we can, we bring some predictability to it. So we're not another wild card in the pack. We're the bit that tries to glue it all together and make it happen. So and it is being successful for us. So we're gradually just growing. All our customers just appreciate what they get. We're not the cheapest in the world, but I want to say we're value for money, but we are what it says on the tin. Exactly. And that's worth having for them.
Well, that's it for another episode of the Rest is Lean Leadership podcast. For you guys out there, thanks very much for taking the time out to listen or watch us on whichever platform that you're experiencing it on. If you have got any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them on the posts or via the email at therestislean@gmail.com. And we'll see you again very, very soon. But for now, take care. Bye.